now that the Ethereum ETF is over, people are now expecting that a Solana ETF is going to come up next. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the exact entries and plays that you can make on Solana, as well as coins within the Solana ecosystem that you can position into early so that you can take advantage of the Solana ETF when it does get released. The best example of the performance after an ETF can be seen during the Bitcoin ETF. After it got approved, it went down by 20% for 2 weeks, but then after that, it went up by 2x. Now, Bitcoin isn't even the biggest beneficiary of the Bitcoin ETF, because the Bitcoin ETF actually led to a huge increase of like $1.2 trillion worth of market cap that entered into the entire crypto market. As a result, this drove the price of many altcoins up by about a factor of 10x to 20x. Is Solana going to generate a similar amount of hype and results compared to the Bitcoin ETF? Well, frankly, no, because Solana is a much smaller coin compared to Bitcoin. However, I do believe that these effects will be seen on Solana itself, as well as the Solana ecosystem coins. Before I get into it, I'm going to show you some statistics just to compare Ethereum versus Solana. And this is, by the way, accounting for all the data from Ethereum layer 2s. Over the past 3 months, you've had about 750 million total transactions, whereas on Solana, it is 4 times that. And then you look at the DEX volume, this is still currently higher than Solana by about a factor of 2x, and as well as Ethereum is currently about roughly 2x the amount of Solana active addresses. But the interesting thing is that the daily transactions over the last 3 months, Solana has been steadily going from 20 million and now is sitting at above 40 million. In fact, it's close to about 45 million at the moment. Ethereum, on the other hand, has stayed very steady at about 8 million transactions a day, and that is a signal of growth. So what am I trying to tell you by showing you all this data? Well, I'm trying to show you that Solana, relative to Ethereum, is actually underpriced. So we just look at the total crypto market cap. Solana at the moment is about 1/4 to 1/5 of the market cap of Ethereum. The statistics would suggest that not only is Solana a growing ecosystem, but also Solana should have half of the market cap of Ethereum, because not only is it growing, but the numbers back it up in the fact that it is half the size of Ethereum. Based on current projections, I do see a world where Solana by the end of this year is going to be sitting at about $200 billion to $300 billion of worth market cap, or perhaps even catching up to Ethereum's current market cap. Meanwhile, Ethereum should be, slightly higher, maybe at about 600 to 800 billion. But the fact is, by the end of this year, especially if we do get a Solana ETF approved, do believe that Solana is easily going to catch up to Ethereum, because ultimately the fundamentals add up. Every smart person that you've seen on Twitter, they all are backers of Solana. The amount of mindshare that Solana is gaining across Twitter and all the other social media is growing by the day. Active users, everyone new that's coming into crypto, they are pushed towards Solana. Why? Because Solana is way faster, way cheaper, and you get way more options. And arguably, the Solana meme coin space is the most vibrant meme coin space across the entire crypto ecosystem. And with meme coins being by far the top performing narrative for this entire bull run so far, like, just to put it into perspective, meme coins alone would account for pretty much all of the gains right here. Like, if you were just positioned in some decent meme coins like WIF, Pepe, just to name a couple, your account at the moment would be up between 10 to 15x just compared to the start of the year. And you can even say that a lot of these meme coin gains have came through the Solana ecosystem. And this is a narrative that's only set to grow from here on out. And so when I mention my picks for Solana, it's going to be very meme coin focused, because that's where the money is at. Now, sure, before you start telling me like, oh, meme coins has no use case, there's no, fundamental analysis, I'm investing in the future, whatever. Guys, let's be real here. Every single crypto goes to zero in a bear market. Even Solana lost like 98% of its valuation over the bear market. And by all accounts, Solana is a very fundamentally sound coin, in the sense that, it has utility, it has, backing, it has investors, it has smart money. In terms of all the criteria, Solana checks every box, and yet it still went down by 97%. Ethereum, arguably the most valuable ecosystem at the moment, second or maybe first only to Solana. Even during the last bear market, it went down by 80%. So let's be real here. We're not in crypto to invest in the future of finance or to invest into the future of mankind or whatever. We're here to make money. And if the goal is to make money, then the best way to do it is to follow where the money is going. You don't want to be investing into things that are doing absolutely nothing, because every bull run, there are a handful of narratives that account for more than 80% to 90% of the gains. During the last bull run, we saw a huge rise in layer ones. And if you had your money in AVAX, in Solana, Solana, in Ethereum, even BNB, you would have done exceptionally well, even if you just only managed to catch one of those layer ones that popped off. This time around, memes are doing exceptionally well. Let's take a look at some other meme coins that can find, for example, Popcat, right? Popcat went up by 4x over the last month during this dip when everything is pretty much staying stagnant. If the goal is to make money, follow where the money is going. And Solana, like the ecosystem, gets an ETF, you're going to get a lot of traditional investors, and traditional investors, i.e. translation, big boys with big money, traditional institutions, hedge funds. And if they start, allocating some of their portfolio into Solana, a lot of this is going to trickle down into the meme coins, because guess what? Crypto is a heavily narrative driven market. The moment Solana starts performing well, guess what people are doing? They're looking for meme coins, they're looking for beta plays, they're looking for catch up plays. And so now that you understand my thesis on Solana, it's time to get into the actual technical analysis on areas where you can start buying into Solana. I'm just going to do some technical analysis on Solana, give you good entry points as well as good TP points, as well as the exact plan. One thing I do want to mention is that if you're enjoying this video so far, drop a like down below, because it really helps push this video out to other people who might benefit from this. Now, before I dive fully into the analysis, I just wanted to mention what these lines are. Essentially, a month ago, I predicted the exact bottom of Solana. It would come here and then it would start going up. Currently, it's about 50% up. If you want to get access to my exact trade plans and trade ideas, feel free to click on the first link in the description box below. You will get an email, and all you have to do is to reply alpha to that first email. But otherwise, with that set aside, let's properly get into the Solana analysis. Currently, looking at the higher time frame, we can see that we are currently at the range high, and this would be your range low. And looking slightly back, we can see that in terms of sell-side liquidity, where price could potentially return to, you have technically relatively equal lows below the wicks here, although this pump began after a liquidity sweep where you took out a lot of the sell stops over here. Tells me that this move started only after a lot of people have been stopped out here. And so with that said, I don't think that there is a very big reason for the market makers to want to bring the price back to this area, because simply put, there's just nobody else to stop out anymore. I'm not saying that this is an absolute certainty, but the chances that we go higher from here is a lot higher than, we come down all the way back to 120 or 130 bucks. If you're still holding hope that Solana is going to do like a 40% retrace down to like 130 bucks, I wouldn't necessarily expect that to happen. Like if it happens, great. But plus, one other thing you need to understand about this low here is that this is called a strong low, because there is a liquidity sweep, right? This strong lows in trends tend to be protected. And the fact that you immediately broke market structure right after sweeping liquidity, this is known as a broken base. And when it comes to broken bases, this is one of the higher probability concepts that I've learned throughout my technical analysis career. Now that we have established the fact that Solana is in an uptrend and that we want to just be looking for dips to buy in, let's take a look at a couple of areas that might provide us with that dip opportunity. One thing that immediately jumps out at me is this broken base. Like the moment you broke the base, you actually came down to retest it before going higher. And at the moment, you are seeing something similar where this is slightly different to a broken base. This is your fair value gap. Price is retracing into the fair value gap, filled it, and now is breaking market structure. Although the fact that we're at range highs leads me to believe that you will come down into some kind of a retracement area. And so when we're looking for retracement areas, it's very important to determine what is the premium discount zone. And essentially all this means is that within any given range, anything under the 50% is known as your discount. Anything above the 50% is known as premium. The easiest way I can explain what this means and why this matters is if I were to sell you an iPhone right now for like $5,000, you probably wouldn't buy. And why is that the case? Because $5,000 relative to the market value of an iPhone is ridiculously over the top. And yet, if I were to sell you an iPhone right now, brand new, iPhone 15 for 200 bucks, would you take it? You definitely will, because even if you resell it for like 500 bucks and make a profit of 300, right? That's still selling at a very deep discount. Well, same thing applies to the market makers and the big boys that move the markets. Ideally, they do not want to be buying in a premium, or i.e. they don't want to buy an iPhone at 5,000 bucks. They want to buy an iPhone for 200 and sell it for 500. That's the game plan. In fact, that's how you really make money. And so whenever we are looking for retracement areas, we want to be buying in a discount. This broken base right here happens to line up with the 50% line very nicely. It's going to be your first area where you want to be looking at a retracement area, which is at about $155. But otherwise, let's start looking at potential areas of retracement that we can take advantage of. And right away, I can see one at about $146, $147. You have a fair value gap right here that lines up with the golden pocket of the fib. If price were to return back to this area, this would be the area that I would look at, right? Between 147 to about 143. This is my golden zone. Is it likely for price to come all the way down here? Like, that's one thing that I cannot tell you. I can tell you that this is the most ideal zone to buy Solana in the long term. And I'm talking about like in a 3 to 6 month perspective. But whether or not it comes down here is a completely other story. So sure, set your limits, but do not be afraid to buy all the way up here, because given the fact that right now we're predicting that over the next 3 to 6 months, Solana is going to catch up more than 50% of Ethereum's market cap, that would put put Solana at a cool 3x from this point onwards. And so assuming that Solana goes up to $500, which I'm not the only one who has this opinion, but a lot of the other very smart people that I follow, Solana will eventually reach $500 during the cycle. And if that happens, does it really matter if you bought at 200 or if you bought at 150, right? It's the difference between 2.5x and 3.5x. But if you ask me, I would much rather have the 2.5x, knowing that, I at least got in compared to, waiting for this retracement to happen, doesn't happen, and then I completely miss out on, even a 2.5x. That's just a mindset that you need to understand. And it's just something that you need to come to terms with. There is no such thing as perfection when it comes to trading. You can just do your best based on the information that you have available to you. And after that, it's just having the patience to hold it long enough for things to play out and you'll be good. So that is the ideal area. This would be ideal area number 2. Like if it comes back down to 155, that would also be a good area as well. Back into the short term, given the fact that we have just taken the range high, plus the fact that this is a fair value gap retracement play, plus the fact that this is also a strong low because you took out liquidity before breaking market structure, this is in the short term also a broken base type setup. And given the fact that this is a broken base type setup, you can see how price retraces back into the candle body before pumping. At the moment, even at current prices, technical analysis wise, momentum wise, like everything is checking out for Solana to move up from here. Whether or not it does or not is completely up to the market conditions, such as Bitcoin. Like if Bitcoin were to start dumping right now, there is just the fact that Solana is going to start dumping. But in this case, the short term, another just ideal level, not to say ideal, but a good level that you can get into Solana at is going to be at around $175. This just happens to also line up with a premium discount. This is at the 618, the 705. You have a fair value cap, and this is a high probability zone after having a strong low, breaking structure, retrace, boom, right? It's a classic high, 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 low setup. So that is the game plan for Solana. Now, before I move on to a couple of my personal meme coin picks, I'm going to first draw a fib, because one of the worst things you can do when you're jumping into a trade, other than the fact that you're FOMOing, that you're not following your plan, is to not have an exit plan. Like a lot of people don't struggle with getting into the trade, but a lot of people definitely do not have any kind of exit plan. And because of that, they end up having like a lot of like unrealized paper profits. They never actually get a substantial gain in their bank account. And you don't want to be that guy, right? Profits only profit when it hits your bank account. Exit plans. So taking a look at fib extensions from this point to this point and extrapolating it out by Fibonacci extensions, or rather standard deviation extensions, you can see that the 0.5 actually happens to line up with the previous all-time high of Solana at about 259 or rather 260. And so that's going to be our TP number 1 by getting into this current price right here. So from any of the levels, that would be about a 50% gain. And I do expect this to happen, anytime within the next 2 to 3 months as we get a very bullish summer. I've already shown my thesis on why I believe that summer is going to be good for crypto. I'm going to link the video down in the description box below if you want to check it out. So that's going to be TP number 1. It's just a range extension. So essentially how this is going to look like, you're going to pump above these highs here. You're going to have a bit of a pit stop and, it's all the way up. You can also potentially spend a significant portion of time after breaking those highs to just go through a little consolidation before going up. Don't expect everything to happen all at once. When price moves like really aggressively, like you can cover 50% gains pretty quickly, like within 1 or 2 weeks. It's just that retracement period, or rather the consolidation periods, that always get people to screw up because they are impatient to jump into trades. They're impatient to want to see things happen. And because of that, they make really bad decisions. And the problem is not that you don't know how to catch moves like this. The problem is that you get screwed up, like not being disciplined during these consolidation periods like this. And if you struggle with consolidations at all, I made a video in the past giving you an exact system that you can use whenever you find yourself in a consolidating market that will not only prevent yourself from losing money during consolidations, but will actually allow you to make money during consolidations. I'll also link the video down below so that you can check it out. Those are the targets for Solana. And as for a new all-time high, I do believe that Solana is going to temporarily top out about $300. After you hit this point here, you're just going to go for a little retracement. By that point, I'm going to be making another video. So if you want to see me call more public plays like this for you to make money, make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you have that bell notification on. So that is the game plan for Solana. Hopefully that makes sense. Now it's time to get into a couple of meme coins. Now these are all the meme coins that you have available at your disposal for Solana. Now I've already made a video a few days ago about Michi and Popcat and just cat coins in general. So I'm not going to repeat myself here. So far, as of the time that this video is being posted, as well as maybe a couple weeks after this video is posted, whatever game plan that I gave you, which my 5x to 10x game plan with exact entries, exact targets on Popcat and Michi is still relevant, very relevant actually. What I do want to focus on is a couple of other meme coins that you can potentially get into. And the first one is going to be WIF. Now with, just to put it into perspective, Shiba during the last bull run went to about $40 billion for market cap. WIF at the moment is about 50% off its all-time high of $5 billion, which puts WIF at about $5. Now WIF has been my highest conviction play throughout this entire bull run. I'm already up about 23x from when I bought in, even though I'm up about 20x. I think this is going to go way higher. If Shiba can go to $40 billion in the last bull run, I do not see how WIF does not go somewhere close to $20 to $40 billion. We could put WIF at about $20 to $40. So that is the target for WIF. Like this by far has the biggest mindshare amongst the people on Twitter. Like sure, you can say, oh, it's Pepe, oh, there's Bonk, but come on, let's be real. Like if we had to pick one big leader, gonna be WIF, right? You want to go for something that has a little bit more fundamental, use case to it, then Bonk for sure, because they have the Telegram trading bot. But my pick is going to be WIF. Like you can also do Bonk, but I would pick either one of these. You could also, separate your money like 50-50 into either one of these as the alpha play. Now, if you don't know what is an alpha play and what is a beta play, I've also already made a video on the best way to allocate your portfolio, because a lot of people tend to do this wrong. They either have way too many coins or they have way too little coins, and some people have a lot of the wrong coins that are doing absolutely nothing. Again, I will link that video down in the description box below for when you want to watch it after this video. But essentially an alpha play, just to TLDR, right? An alpha play is something that is higher market cap but way higher conviction, meaning the amount of percentage gains that you're going to get on it is not as high, but you can put way more money behind this because it's going to have a way higher likelihood of actually playing out instead of like getting rug pulled. Pick either one of these or have a combination of both. That would be my pick. Now, in terms of beta plays, you have like the world is your oyster. Ponke has been garnering a lot of attention in Instagram. They're doing really great marketing on Instagram at the moment. So Ponke is definitely like one of the best beta plays just purely off of marketing. Now, Mumu is also garnering a very cult-like community at the moment. You're still very, very early to Mumu, by the way. The team inside AOC, shout out to Sid, who are also the coaches for the Art of Crypto. Sid was actually the one who brought Mumu to my attention. And in the last like week or so, it went up by like a cool 5x. Although you're not too late yet. Mumu is another one of these that are very much underrated at the moment, but is building a strong cult-like community. And that is one of the most important things you want to look for when it comes to a meme coin. So Mumu and Ponke are going to be like two potential options for, beta plays. I'm not going to mention Michi again. Already stated my thesis on the video about cats and why I think they're going to be performing exceptionally well over the next 3 months. But another one that you can look into is going to be Retardio. This is very much like a culture token. Like sure, this also has a cult-like community, but it's also way smaller than the likes of, Ponke or Mumu. Now, this is going to be very much the most beta play that you can have because it is very unproven. The market cap is very low, which means that sure, you may stand to have a lot of reward at the same time. Like be careful about putting too much money into beta plays. The best solution is always to have a good balance between your alpha and beta plays so that you get exposure to not only the high conviction plays, but also the high risk, high reward type plays. But if I had to pick a solid portfolio for how an alpha beta combination of Solana meme coins is going to look like for me, it's going to be WIF as the number one. I have Popcat already. It is one of my highest conviction cat coins as well. So Popcat does not need to be said. Now I will be starting to add to Ponke really, really soon, especially considering that it's going through a retracement period at the moment. Mumu also waiting for just a tiny bit more of a retracement. I'm going to give you some exact entries on Mumu, by the way, but Mumu is also a really solid pick for a beta play. Then lastly, I have Michi. Now these would be my combination of like 3 beta plays and 2 alpha plays, right? That's WIF, that's Popcat, and then there's Ponke, Mumu, and Michi. In terms of Solana ecosystem, those are my picks. Now, of course, like this is completely aside to Solana, but PP is also a really strong performer. So let's get into the chart and actually give you some exact entries for WIF and the other coins that I mentioned. Taking a look at WIF, again, you have cert liquidity, strong low, breaking structure, broken base. At the moment, this is going to be your first level where you can potentially look into getting into WIF. Taking a look side by side compared to Solana is slightly weaker. Instead of like breaking structure, it's actually making a lower high. So if we were to draw a fib, WIF particularly, I wouldn't necessarily buy here, but I do see that there is a big featherly gap over here and a previous candle body that you can utilize at around $2. So that would be the ideal level for you to buy with in the long run, or at least in my opinion. The first level, that's the second level, they both line up. And the other problem with buying with at current prices is the fact that if we were to look at it from the daily chart perspective, this is still in a premium. And remember what I said before about not buying in a premium. This, honestly, $2 would be my ideal level. Things will change though if, for example, you start breaking market structure, then in this case, buy that retest, right? That's going to be the play on with. Like, do not be afraid to momentum trade. Like, price tends to go up, down, like much longer than you think and much more aggressively than you think. If you keep waiting for a retracement, for example, during this play here, if you kept waiting for a retracement that never came, you would have missed out on the entire move. Similarly, on your previous pumps on with, right? If you missed the retracement, it's fine, right? It's completely fine to momentum trade. So now you have a momentum trade entry and you have a retracement entry. In terms of profit targets for with, you definitely have its previous all-time high. And in fact, this time I definitely think it's going to break $5. So let's just say the first target is going to be right underneath $5 at around 4.95. Anywhere after that point is going to, like, we're going to need to rely on a fib that's around 6.5 as well as 8.2. With is going to go way higher than this. We've already established the fact that with is very likely going to go close to Shiba at around $20 billion worth of market cap. That puts with at about $20. So long term, that is my target, but these are just like reference points that you can use if you're trying to get out and secure some profit more in the short term, right? So that's $5, $6.5, $8, as well as $11.5. Those would be my profit targets, at least going a fib extension. But long term, remember my target, $20, $40, highly likely to happen. So taking a look at Bonk, you can see that liquidity at the moment has been swept. Currently, you are forming some kind of a rounding bottom formation. Although is this a good sign? I don't know, but in my opinion, this definitely looks slightly worse than with, just because of how market structure is currently looking like. You have a lower low, and currently you are in the process of forming a lower high. And so in this case, like the ideal level that I would probably look at, even if we were to draw a retracement, this time I'm definitely going to be looking for something different. It's kind of like a liquidity sweep. So right here at around 225, going to be the ideal level. There is also a very big chance that Bonk just goes like way deeper into a retracement. I wouldn't even be surprised if Bonk eventually reaches this area, although whether or not this happens or not is highly dependent on market conditions. As long as Bitcoin and like the overall crypto markets doesn't just absolutely crash, you're not going to see this happen. For now, 225, as well as the range low right here at around 20, right? 201, like at around 21 and 20 would be like another option as well. So those are like the retracement areas that I would personally look at for Bonk. Like I definitely wouldn't buy like right away here, because if you buy here, you would be basically placing a bet that the market structure is going to reverse from here, which is a fair bet, right? If you want to go for a slightly riskier option, very much high reward, then you could take a bet here because you've just swept liquidity. Currently you're breaking market structure. This is a broken base. You can enter into here if you want to. Me personally, I would wait for a higher probability setup, meaning like I really want to see this high get broken. At the very least, that would indicate that, you know, momentum is still in the favor of Bonk, and then buy the retest if needed. So that's my momentum entry. Now taking a look at profit targets for Bonk. And obviously you're going to go to the previous all-time high. Like let's just establish that. You're definitely going to, you know, around 50. And honestly, because the numbers are so similar, like the targets for Bonk and with are just going to look very similar, just with like 4 extra decimal points. Feel free to screenshot that. But those are your reference points for profit targets that you can take. Now, again, I'm like between with and Bonk, I am much heavier into with. In fact, I don't really own Bonk. I do use it, but like I don't own it. So this leaves us with Ponke and Mumu. So Ponke obviously been doing superbly well at the moment. You're coming back to retrace at the previous range high. This technically is your range low where you have a range deviation. At the moment, what are the potential retracement areas that we can look at in terms of Ponke? One of them is going to come right around here, like at this fair value gap right here, that is within the discount. Now you can also say that you have a second one over here, and further down, I don't think we're really going to see Ponke go much lower than that. Right away, my 2 ideal levels is going to be right here at 0.472 as well as 0.434. Right? These are going to be like 2 really high probability retracement areas that you can wait for. Alternatively, again, story similar. If you get a retest here, you break market structure, that retest is going to be your way to go. But otherwise, in terms of retracement, these are going to be the 2 levels. Given the fact that we are pretty much already in price discovery for Ponke at the moment, so we're definitely going to need to rely on the fib extensions in this case. Potential profit targets is going to be right here at 0.94, 1.16, and 1.62. So those are potential TP targets that you can follow for Ponke. And by the way, guys, like this method that you see me doing with the fib extensions. It might look really simple, but guys, in the last bull run, I actually made a name for myself as a sniper, essentially, right? I called the tops before they happened, and I called bottoms before they happened, like even if they were in, price discovery. And the way I did that was using fibs, more specifically fib extensions. So what you're seeing right now is something that I've been doing for years, and it's been working out so far. Because fun fact, these markets are manipulated, right? Everything's priced in. There are algorithms that are moving the market, and all you need to do is to figure out exactly what these algorithms are programmed on, and you'll be able to understand the hidden mechanisms that move the markets. And over the years, I have definitely found that fib extensions is one of them, or rather standard deviation expansions is the game plan for Wonky. And lastly, we have Mumu. Now, this is arguably like a newer chart. So the best time to get into Mumu would have been when it was still on a DEX. Like for example, it's not even on the main exchanges yet. So you're very much not too late on Mumu, given the fact that it's only $150 million worth of market cap. Like sure, did it do a 5x over the last, couple weeks? Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still so small that it doesn't really matter. One of the things that I really dislike about like pumps like this is that a lot of the times they do fully retrace. I would even say like just completely ignore this fair value gap, even though it's there. And the first level that I would personally start looking into Mumu, like if I haven't got in already, like just looking at areas where there's volume. And I'd say the first area, or like the first general area, is going to be somewhere within this box here at around 0.35, which would be a 50% retracement from current prices. But in the meme coin space, like this happens a lot more often than you think, especially plus the fact that you really do have a volume gap here. If you want an aggressive entry, this is going to be your first level here, right at around the area of volume. So at around 0.000445 is going to be your first level. If you're slightly more aggressive as an investor, like if you don't really mind buying higher, knowing that this is going to go 10x eventually, and that is the best price. But otherwise, like the ideal level that I would look at is going to be at around 0.32. Like that's where, historically speaking, at least, you've had a lot of interest. And if you want to go like even further down, this line right here, where you can see like just some people call this quote unquote resistance, but I like to call it more like areas of interest, because this is historically where people tended to defend the price. And if we purely look at this, then the most ideal level for Mumu is going to be right around 266, and that will be the most ideal level. Right now you have 3 levels, and the way that you utilize this is feel free to split your limits up into equal parts. You can also start looking for market structure, momentum. For example, if price were to break above this high right now or very near in the future without just breaking lower, then great, we can jump into Mumu following the momentum. But as of right now, it's forming some kind of a heads and shoulders formation on the 4-hourly chart, plus the fact that you had a straight up pump, volume gap. Like at the moment, it does not seem good to go into a momentum trade, but on a retrace, this would definitely be a solid option. And once more, in terms of profit targets, you have right here, and let's say right here. These are your reference points. Feel free to take a screenshot. And by the way, if you would just like to remove the guesswork out of making money this crypto bull run, or perhaps you're just not making the kind of money that you were expecting from a crypto bull run so far, and you just don't want to fumble this opportunity for generational wealth, feel free to check out the first link in the description box below. Now, don't worry, it's not some $997 course. It's just a website telling you how my service could potentially help you solve your problems. Now, don't worry, you don't have to click. I don't really mind if you click or not, but only if this is relevant for you. And if you would like some help solving your problems, then click the first link in the description box below. You will get an email, reply alpha to that email, and you'll be able to take the exact trades that I'm taking, as well as get access to all the insider information that my coaches are sharing as well, so that once more, you can remove the guesswork. You don't have to do this yourself. It's oftentimes much more efficient to follow the experts. But anyways, you have about 3 to 4 videos in the description box below, all of which are going to be highly relevant for you, especially if you're a beginner in crypto. So go ahead and binge watch them, and I'll see you in the next one.